Hi everyone. Today I'm talking about INFJ's biggest mistake in love. This video could also be titled INFJs and INFPs biggest mistake in love because it is for both INFJ personality types and INFP personality types. I hear about this problem from both types, I would say in equal measure. Many INFJs and INFPs are struggling in their romantic relationships, and that's because they're making one big mistake. This mistake comes down to them not understanding that love, a romantic relationship, is an exchange. It's between two people. It goes back and forth. It's reciprocal. It's coming from both directions. Now, this might sound obvious, and if you're not an INFJ or an INFP and you're watching this video, you might say, what does that mean? What do you mean you don't understand it's an exchange? This is actually a really big problem for INFJs and INFPs, and it comes from childhood. Many INFJ personality types and INFP personality types grew up in homes with narcissistic family dynamics or codependent family dynamics or both or enmeshment. So I've seen many different combinations. I've seen INFJs and INFPs who had two parents who were narcissists, so both parents were narcissists. I've also seen one is a narcissist and the other one is codependent enabler. I've also seen one is more codependent with narcissistic tendencies and is enmeshed with the child, and then the other parent really enables that. So I've seen a broad spectrum of dysfunctional dynamics in the home for INFJs and INFPs growing up. But no matter what, I've really seen dysfunction, right? Whether it shows up in the form of codependence or narcissism or a dance between the two, there is this dysfunctional element. So when we're very young, we learn very early on not to expect an exchange in a love relationship, either with our mother or our father or our primary caregiver, whoever that may be. A lot of the time it's us trying to please them, or it's us trying to take care of them, or it's us trying to anticipate their needs, right? So it's very one-sided. And then we carry this into adulthood, and we have this ingrained subconscious belief that love relationships are one-sided. This shows up in friendships too, and I've done a lot of videos on false friends, one-sided relationships, one-sided friendships for INFJs and INFPs, not being valued, not being seen, not being appreciated in friendships, being taken advantage of. All that stuff happens because we have this belief that when you love someone or you connect with someone, it's going to be a mostly one-sided relationship, and that our role in that relationship is to be the caretaker. Our role is to make sure the other person is okay and to give them what they want. The way this manifests in romantic relationships is that we usually take on this role where it's almost like this one-sided worship, especially in the beginning when we're infatuated with someone, or we have a crush on someone, we're first attracted to them. Maybe we've started dating them, maybe we never date them, but we want to date them, or we want to form some sort of romantic relationship with them. We'll have this one-sided worship, and it doesn't feel strange to us. It doesn't feel out of the ordinary. In fact, it feels very ordinary. And for most of us, it feels like, well, this is the way it should be. I worship them, and they either know I worship them, and they deign to be seen with me, or even be in a relationship with me, or they don't know I worship with them, and that's just fine too. I worship them from afar. But either way, it's still a case of a one-sided worship. So our adult romantic relationships end up being very one-sided because there's not an exchange of support. Now, sometimes this is actually fine, especially if we never end up getting into a relationship with the person, which sometimes happens. INFJs and INFPs, we really are notorious for falling in love with people from afar and them never knowing that we're in love with them and us never forming a relationship with them, and that actually being okay. People like that passing in and out of our lives. Sometimes we do have we have a relationship with them, but it's more of a friendship, and we never reveal our romantic feelings for them. And sometimes that can be painful, but sometimes that can actually be okay too. Years later, we might look back and say, oh, they weren't really the one for me, or they weren't really a match. But I do feel like we came into each other's lives for a reason at that point, and I really needed to have those feelings for them. I learned a lot about myself. So it's not always in vain. However, if we get into a long-term romantic relationship with someone, and we're bringing this one-sided worship, right? Where we're not expecting an exchange. We are expecting that they need something from us, or we just hope we can fulfill some need of theirs, and then they will keep us around. That's when things can get really nasty. And that's usually when we get into a place where we are attracting narcissists, right? I hear from a lot of INFJs and INFPs who have ex-partners who are narcissists, and they will tell me, in the beginning, I just thought they were fantastic. They seemed to be everything I had ever wanted in a partner. They were everything that I wish I could be, that I couldn't. They were charming. They were very social. They always seemed to say the right thing. They were very smooth, a smooth talker, right? They were very attractive to other people. They seemed to know exactly what other people wanted, when they needed it. And that's never been me. I've always been shy, or the wallflower, or socially awkward, or too earnest, or I've said the wrong thing at the wrong time, or I've had trouble picking up on social cues. I hear that a lot from INFJs and INFPs. So when we're accustomed to, okay, a romantic relationship should be basically an act of one-sided worship, and then a narcissist crosses our path. If we've had a narcissistic parent, and the current narcissist in any way resembles the patterns of that narcissistic parent in our past, we're done for, right? Like, we're really just immediately sucked in. We're now in this person's orbit. And sometimes it doesn't occur to us until years later, wow, this relationship I'm in, it's not an exchange. It is very one-sided. I exist to meet their needs. I exist to enable them. I exist to caretake them. I exist to manage things for them. Whatever it is, there's a reason they keep me around, and they don't give anything back to me. It's not an exchange of support. It's not an exchange of love. I don't feel safe with them. I don't feel like I can confide in them, my true thoughts, my true feelings, my true anything, because I feel like I'm only there for them, right? This is very one-sided. You can kind of pick up on this in the beginning of a relationship, and this is what's really hard for INFJs and INFPs. When you go into the relationship, you are attracted to the person, you do have that kind of one-sided worship, and you want to know all about them, right? This is very common for INFJ and INFP personality types. When we become attracted to someone, when we fall in love with someone, we want to know everything about them. Sometimes we'll ask them a lot of questions. Sometimes we will ask their friends questions that are sort of indirect, right? We'll do sleuthing on our own, but we want to gather a lot of information about them. We want to know where they were born, and what their childhood was like, and what their siblings are like, and what their passions are, and what they really want out of life, and what their favorite food is, and on and on and on and on. It can get kind of crazy, but we want to know everything. And in our quest to know everything, sometimes it doesn't occur to us that they're not asking very much back. They're not, the person that we're dating or we're in the romantic relationship with, they're not seeming to return that desire to want to know everything about us. They're not asking about our childhood. They're not asking about our favorite food. They're not asking about what we really want out of life. And if we can slow down and see that, a lot of the time we can say, oh, wait, actually, the relationship I'm in with the person is all about them. It's all about me asking them questions and trying to get information on them and trying to support them and trying to caretake them and trying to give them more and more and more, right? And that's when we can really see the imbalance in the dynamic. Oh, I'm giving a bunch. They're not giving very much back. They're receiving a bunch from me, but I'm not receiving very much back from them. So if we can slow down and sort of clear that haze of infatuation and one-sided worship and, oh my God, they're so great and I just want to know everything about them, we can really see and ask ourselves, like, okay, what's the dynamic in this relationship? Where's the balance? And that's something I'll say too. INFJs and INFPs have a really interesting dynamic with romantic relationships because we are so intuitive. We can see beyond the mask in a lot of people. We can very quickly see someone's essence. All of that is true. We are very good at sussing out motivations and if someone has an agenda and if someone's lying. All of that is true. However, because so many of us have trauma in our past, narcissistic family dynamics, enmeshment, codependence, really poor boundaries. We grew up in a family with really poor boundaries. We carry that into adulthood. we have a lot of trouble slowing down in the beginning stages of a relationship. So when someone like a narcissist moves into our territory and targets us and they want to move very, very fast, we have a problem usually putting the brakes on. Or it doesn't even occur to us that the brakes need to be put on. It's not always a narcissist. Sometimes this can happen with someone who is not a narcissist at all. They have good intentions. They actually do care about you. However, the relationship is moving really, really quickly in the beginning. And because of our past history with trauma or the dynamics in our family, it's not occurring to us that, wow, this relationship's moving really, really quickly. So we will commit too fast. We will put labels on the relationship too fast. We will move in together too fast. We will get married too fast, right? We will decide to have a child too fast. We will really rush headlong in and then later say, oh my gosh, like I actually didn't really know this person that well. I thought I knew them because I was asking them all these questions and I was trying to get all this information and I was merging my energy with them and I was thinking about them all the time and my intuition was on and I was trying to use my intuition to poke around inside them and I felt like I knew them really well. But then these other character traits were revealed down the road that were, maybe they were consciously hiding them from me. Maybe they were buried. Maybe the person themselves wasn't conscious of them, they were unconscious. But now these things are being revealed and I'm seeing, wow, this person really has a lot of trauma that they are not interested in working with. They're not interested in healing that. This person shuts down a lot. This person almost seems to have two personalities sometimes, and that's not working for me, right? So a lot of stuff can emerge out into the light later on down the road that we didn't see at first because we never put the brakes on, because it didn't occur to us to. So that's just a small warning I'd like to put out for INFJs and INFPs. If you meet someone and you're head over heels in love with them and you're like, this is the one, I know it, I've known them for a month, but I know this is the one. I truly do believe that can happen. I truly do believe you can meet someone and immediately know that they are the one, immediately know that they are supposed to be your partner. But if that's true, if they are the one, they are supposed to be your lifelong partner, it couldn't wait to hurt 6 more months. It couldn't wait to, give yourself a little bit more time to get to know each other here in the concrete realm, right? It couldn't hurt to put a little bit of space around decisions to move in together or move to a new town for somebody or, change your life up in some way to be closer to them or to make the relationship work. If you truly are meant to be together, a little bit more time, a few months, a year even, that won't matter. In fact, that will enrich the relationship because it will give you both the time and the space you need to actually form a deep connection. So please take all of that under advisement if you're an INFJ or an INFP dealing with struggles in romantic relationships. The most important thing is that you seek an exchange with the other person and that many times along the way you slow down and say, is this one-sided or is this an exchange? Is this an equal relationship where I'm meeting their needs, I'm trying to meet their needs, but they're also trying to meet my needs? And we're having open discussions about both of our needs, not just what they need or want from me and how I can change to fit what they need, but how both of us can work together to fulfill each other's needs. Last thing I will say, if you do this work and you in relationships and you really seek an exchange and you are slowing down and asking these questions and you are trying to have open discussions with a prospective partner or a current partner, your fears around intimacy will most likely come up. INFJs and INFPs have deep fears around intimacy. Intimacy is really hard for us, again, usually because of that past history of trauma or narcissistic family dynamics in the home. So your fears around intimacy may be triggered by doing this kind of work or even asking, is this actually an exchange? Because that's the thing, INFJs and INFPs sometimes will get into these one-sided relationships because they feel safe and they feel familiar. And even though they might kind of suck and they're unpleasant because we're not getting really what we need, at least we know what to expect. When we get into an actual healthy, mature relationship where we are not only, being asked to communicate, but our needs are welcomed, right? Our communication about our needs is welcomed. And the other person is like, yes, please share yourself with me. I'd love to know what makes you tick, what you want out of life, what your needs are. That can feel really scary all in itself, simply because we've never experienced it before. So also know that that's quite normal. If you finally do get into a relationship where there is a healthy exchange, you might be really triggered by that. You might feel like there's a loss of control, or you're very uncertain, or all of a sudden you're very scared. That is all completely normal. The important thing is that you stick with it and you keep working with these experiences so that you can get more experience with these feelings, and you don't always feel a loss of control when someone says, hey, tell me about yourself, or let's actually have an equal exchange in this relationship. If you liked this video or you found it helpful, please subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the comments below. I send out all sorts of stuff over my newsletter, new updates and notifications about new classes, new books I'm releasing, free online events I do. Every once in a while I'll do a free class or a free webinar, other resources, other free resources, other book recommendations. So please subscribe to my newsletter to get all of that info. Please also like and subscribe to the channel. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. It really helps. It really helps me out. It helps me keep making videos for intuitive people on all of these different issues: relationships, intuition, creativity, life in general. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you next time.